Yeah, but all of them are going to be on the Blackhawks' future defense because Seth Jones is going to be traded. Oh, what a transition.
Yeah, he's about time. But don't worry, look, Davidson just lost like all of his leverage in the meantime, so that's fun. But yeah, continue, Pierce.
Earlier, Ben Pope put out an article saying that Seth Jones is open to being traded. Like, no official, like, oh, he's requested a trade, but he is open to being traded. Which, with the cap going up, anything feels possible now. Like, is there, with the cap going up, is there such thing as a bad contract now? I don't think so. Darn owners, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still some bad ones out there. Don't worry. But
the
less bad. They're less bad now.
Yes.
But yeah, Seth Jones requesting a trade, or not even requesting a trade, I guess just facilitating a trade.
One, yeah.
Entertaining one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of spitballing ideas earlier before the show.
Seth Jones for Tyler Seguin.
Listen.
We go from Taylor to Tyler.
My most galaxy brain idea ever.
You did cook on that one.
Seth for Tyler in the offseason. It makes almost too much sense for both teams. The Stars need to free up a forward spot. They also need to at least reallocate that money somewhere better. Heiskanen needs a D partner. You would literally lock up him and Jones.
Thomas Harley.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Heiskanen and Jones' contracts perfectly aligned. They'll be together for the rest of their deals.
Oh, I like that.
Exactly what they're looking for. The right side's abysmal, and Seth would be an immediate upgrade.
What do you mean Ilya Labushkin and Matt Dumba aren't good enough? And Cody Ceci, you can't forget about that.
Oh my God. And also the Hawks aren't trading for him this year because they don't have a first. So they traded it for Granlund. So I don't really – there's no trade that makes sense there in the midseason. Plus Sagan's hurt. The salaries make sense. It makes more sense for the Hawks. If they retain on Jones and they – the Stars have Jones at 7.5 for the next couple years, or what is it, 4 years or 5 years? Like, I think they'll be happy with that. The Hawks
next year will be someone. This is year 3 of the contract.
Yeah, the Hawks get someone that's making more money than Seth Jones for less time, and Seguin immediately upgrades his forward core when he's healthy. This is a player who still can produce at a high level. I think he would bring the best out of some of these players in the system, and they're good. He's a good piece for them to learn from. And if he gets hurt, that allows for the kids to come up, and the forward is a spot where they have the flexibility to do this. So I think it just makes a little bit of sense for both teams. Seth is, like we've already talked about, that was one of the final 2 teams Seth was looking at, was Dallas and Chicago.
I think he's from the area, or like I don't think he's from Dallas, but like he has connections there. Like I'm pretty sure his dad played basketball there. That or Colorado. I always get the 2 mixed up. But I know he's got some kind of ties.
Yeah, they're from Texas. So home ties, family ties. It almost makes too much sense. My only concern is just that they want to keep Seguin. And he might have more value than Seth Jones, but that's neither here nor there. I probably would say Seth's got higher values, a right-handed defenseman, but the contract does negate it, but I would assume the Hawks are retaining. We also entertained the idea that if the Hawks just said screw it and retained half, you probably get the best haul you're ever going to get for him, because any contender will take Seth at 4.5.
You might get something similar to what you gave up to get Jones in the first place if you retain half.
Yeah. And and I talked to you about this. I don't see a world where that's going to affect the Hawks, even if they go big game hunting this offseason. Like, let's say they go get Mitch Marner for $14 million times 7 years. And they're retaining 4.5 on Seth. That's 18 mil right there. You're adding 9 mil to your cap at the end of the day, which they very much can't afford because they're paying people $4 million to be fourth liners. So you definitely can afford it. But it's one of those cases where you can get really creative with this if you want to, or you're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and lose the trade entirely. And I think you need to at least entertain looking at more creative options if you're going to trade him.
I think he does get traded. Like within like the next 5 or 6 months by the offseason, I think there is a trade to be had with Seth Jones. And to me, the more you retain, the more like you open up like more teams and the more like you could potentially get. Like you're casting a wider net if you're retaining more. And obviously that's what like Kyle Davidson and ownership, if like they want to retain less, you have to like sit with the fact that you're not going to get as much, but also you're not going to have to retain as much. So but if you retain more, you're gonna have 4.5 million on, or what is it, 4.75 on your books for the next 4 years for him to not play for you. But you also get a huge return, and the cap's going up. So to me, like this is the time to get creative. This is the time with the cap going up to make a trade like that. So
Yeah, and just kind of looking at his stats, like he's having his best offensive season in Chicago for basing it off of points per game. He's got 26 and 38 this year, and he hasn't been an anchor defensively outside of that month. I think he came back from an injury too soon to play in the Winter Classic. He's got decent trade value, I would believe. And he's a 6'4" right-handed shot that can skate and play 25 a night. I don't know any team who's going to turn that away if the price is right. I know you mentioned Colorado. That him and Makar on the right side is disgusting just to even think. And Manson, like good Lord, that's a nasty right side. LA, I
like
brought up.
LA is an interesting one because they have like a lot of younger guys that the Blackhawks might be interested in, like Turcotte.
Yeah, Turcotte. It'd be awesome if they can get a Brandt Clark trade out of that, but I don't think that's possible.
I don't think it's happening.
You go full circle and get the high-end right-handed defenseman prospect for Seth Jones.
Yeah, from 2021.
Oh my god! But I think you mentioned Washington. I said Tampa if they retain half, I think would be all over that.
If they retain half, absolutely. Like,
I think you and I both admitted like the sweet spot's 3.5. Like I think if you retain 3.5,
yeah, like 2.5, 3.5. Yeah, like
it can't be less than 2.5. That's pointless. Like if you're retaining 1.5 on Seth for 5 years, so what was the point? Just fucking bite the bullet legitimately to where you can have legit roster flexibility. We watched a team like Minnesota still be competitive when they had 17 million dead salary.
That's a really good point.
Very possible. It's very possible. And this is something that benefits both sides, I think. Because at the end of the day, when this team's where they need to be, Seth Jones is going to cause a logjam on that right side. It's just plain and simple. When Rinzel and Levshinov hit the ceilings that we believe they're going to be to
hit, even Crevier at this point. Like,
yeah, dude. Like he's going to hog up a spot 3 or 4 years down the line, which is a long way, I know, but also you have to take that into account when he signed till 2030. So decisions have to be made, and I'm glad. I think we talked about it. There was no reason for Seth to want to be here. He was like, I think the whole reason he wanted to come here in the first place was to be the captain, and he was never going to get that, especially after
you lost out the captaincy to your former teammate Nick Foligno.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe go talk to the media after putting up an embarrassing performance in the Winter Classic. I don't know. Just a thought, but yeah, they're gonna do right by him. I think Davidson's done right by every player that he's parted ways with, I would say. I don't think there's anyone he's put in a bad situation on the way out the door, which is more to be said than the previous GM. So I can't imagine he's going to go to not a contender. I know I joked about Anaheim with you earlier because like him for Zegras, like in a vacuum makes a lot of sense, but there's just other circumstances to be had. And I think you mentioned Edmonton as well, but
that's like that's not even like, oh, he wants to go there. Like that's I'll waive my movement.
Oh, I get to play with McDavid and go try to win a cup?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I guess. Yeah.
He's like, but I gotta live in Canada.
Yeah. Edmonton.
He's like, I gotta go from Columbus to Edmonton. Oh, terrible.
Yeah, the Columbus of Canada. Actually, that's probably more like Winnipeg, but yeah. Yeah, like I could maybe envision Edmonton or Toronto just for and like especially in Toronto, he would be the guy on that defense. Like I've been listening to the Dangle podcast and they're like, oh, like they have decent defensive depth, but they don't have that number one guy. Like to me, Seth Jones would step in and be that number one guy. And Edmonton, you're probably going to be second fiddle to Bouchard and Ekholm. But yeah, like yeah, it's probably going to be another few years before Levshinov, Rinzel really hit what they could be. But to me, there's no better time than the present to trade Seth Jones because of all the factors, the cap going up. Like, this is your time to capitalize and pounce and find a trade. And I don't know if we brought up Vegas, but I would also put Vegas in there just on account of them always looking for the big name. And with Shea Theodore being out for a while, they're going to find a way to, whether even if it's Seth Jones or not, they're going to try to find a way to get another big name in there. So
Always, always. And that's why we're going to take Nick Waugh, Pavel Dorofeyev, and God knows who else.
Nick Hague, let's do it.
There it is. Bang, bang. But yeah, Seth Jones, going to be an interesting one to watch, like you said, up until July 1st, I think. And I think the biggest thing will be if he's going to give them a partial no trade list, or if he's going, because I would think that's what he's going to do. He's going to give them like 5 teams to work with, I would think. Or he's going to be really douchey and be like, I want 1 team. And he has every right to it. There's no
he has a no movement clause. That's what you got to do.
Douchiness, like, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Because, like, what did he give Columbus? Like 3 or 4 teams to work with?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
I would assume it's that.
I think Philadelphia was in on Jones. I think Colorado and Dallas and Chicago. So yeah, probably maybe at most 5.
Yeah,
probably less than that. Like 3.
It'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. But if it's Dallas, I'm telling you, the longer they wait on that trade, the more it'll make sense. So yeah, that's my 2 cents that I tried to put in the gumball machine and it got spat rack out.
Yeah, Seth Jones, like it doesn't line up. Like there was a reality 4 years ago where it might have lined up, but yeah, there's just so many on ice and off ice circumstances that to me, like it never was gonna happen. Yeah, with Jones, I think like sometimes I think we are too harsh on him, but also when you're getting paid the big bucks, $9.5 million, and you can't even go out and answer questions after a Winter Classic loss, it's like, yeah, of course the fans are kind of gonna scapegoat you, even if it's not your fault for someone offering you $9.5 million and then just like the team imploding on and off the ice. So yeah, like the thing is, like with Seth Jones, why do you want this? Why do you want to be in Chicago where you're clearly miserable? Like Chicago, I bet is an incredible city to live in, but I think you would probably rather go live in Vegas, Dallas, or Colorado with a winning team, I would think.
And here's the best part: you're always going to get that $76 million, no matter what, or whatever the hell it is. 90, like you're going to get that money regardless. As soon as you sign that dotted line, even if you get your contract completely terminated like Mike Richards, you're still going to get that money. So don't worry.
One way or another, yeah.
But yeah, it'll be an interesting one for sure to keep an eye on. And like I said, the more creative the Hawks can get, the better. But that's a lot to ask for. But if there's anyone that's been creative in the past and at least attempted to be creative, it is Kyle Davidson. I mean, he tried to trade for number 4. He got really creative with Hagel with the Leafs at one point, trying to get Nyes. I remember that. And I still think the trade with the Lightning in hindsight was still creative. He got 2 firsts for Brandon Hagel. Granted, Brandon Hagel has done exactly what we thought he was going to do on the Lightning, which is to send to a top player. But, hindsight's 2020.